long do you plan to keep working? Last week I shared that many Generation Yers on average want to retire at 59. Generation X is a little bit different. Most want to work until 60. Most expect to work past 60. But is that reasonable? And what happens if you're wrong? And by wrong, I mean you don't work as long as you intended to. Here's a stat followed by a dose of reality. Fewer than 1 in 10 workers say they expect to retire before age 60. Now, here's the reality part. 36% of retirees had to stop working before they turned 60. Only 29% of workers retired between the ages of 60 and 64. Only 9% at age 65. And a quarter of people want to work until age 70, but only 6% get that far. I love this quote from the book Retire Inspired about ostriches of all things. Some people act like ostriches. Ostriches like to bury their heads in the sand. So when it comes to retirement, these people know it's coming and they know they should do something, but they hide their heads in a hole and pretend that there will not be consequences for the way they manage their money or plan for retirement. Are you acting like an ostrich? Here's some guidance. There are 5 questions we should be asking by 50 years of age at the latest. There are 5 questions that will help you holistically assess where you are with your plans. 5 questions that I'll share with you after I introduce myself. Hello, once again, I am Darryl Rosen, your financial strength coach. The purpose of this channel is to help you create safety, simplicity, and most of all, financial strength at any age or stage of your journey through life. If you like what I'm doing, consider subscribing or commenting or giving me the thumbs up. It's super easy. Just hit the button below. I'll wait right here and hum the Jeopardy theme. I'm kidding. Here are your 5 questions. What are you gonna do? What will it cost? How are you gonna pay? What could go wrong? And what are your priorities and will they change? Let's dig a little deeper. Number 1, what are you gonna do with all your time when you have an abundance of it? What are you gonna do with your time? You're gonna develop some interests. That's what you're gonna do. And yes, I realize this has nothing to do with money. We'll address money later. This is about identifying what gives you energy and makes you happy. I think about this all the time in my personal life. Am I developing strong passions? I think about how my 85-year-old father has aged. He worked most of his life right up until age 71. He's always had 2 serious interests, playing basketball every day and remarkably well into his early 80s, and talking about the street he grew up on, Division Street in Chicago, over and over. Seriously. Anyway, when he retired, he struggled mightily. Watched TV most of the day because when you don't have interest and much to do, you just watch TV all day. It increased his loneliness and sped up his cognitive decline. Interests need to be cultivated in advance. Before you retire, best in your 50s or earlier. Number 2, what will retirement cost? Do you have an idea of what you're spending now and how that might change in the future? Here's what I fear and why it's so important for you to take this seriously. I don't know which is worse, spending too much of your nest egg too soon and running out of money later in life, or spending too little and experiencing the opposite. I call that imprisonment. It's being on the outside looking in on what might have been, the trips you might have taken, the hobbies you might have pursued and cultivated, the causes you might have supported if you'd felt you had the resources. So we need to know this. But often it's much easier to sweep this subject under the nearest rug. Rate of return and asset diversification, those aren't emotional topics. But living life comfortably on your terms is a topic loaded with emotion and usually more difficult to consider. So if you haven't already, get an idea of what you're currently spending. Number 3, consider how you're gonna pay for retirement. So what I'd like you to do is divide all the costs you just calculated into 3 separate categories. The first category is needs: food, shelter, transportation, medicine. The second category is wants: activities like going out to dinner or buying a more expensive car than you need, or designer clothing, or the new iPhone. Aspirational spending is our third category. It's getting an Airbnb in Florida over the holidays and inviting the kids and grandkids if you like them, or legacy goals, or charitable giving and the like. What you should do is match these categories to a specific income source. My suggestion is to have enough guaranteed income to cover your needs and wants and let your retirement funds cover your aspirational spending. Whatever the case, please get a handle on this. And like I always say, if you don't have a pension, buy one. Number 4, Make sure your plan covers what could go wrong. For this, I consider the following risks: inflation risk, long-term care risk, sequence of returns risk, market risk, and tax rate risk. By the way, there's a longer video for each of these questions on a playlist called Retiring Soonish on this YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the description. And number 5, the last thing to consider is how your priorities may change in retirement, or what's important to you. Wealth, as it's been described in the wonderful book, The Psychology of Money, is what you don't see. And the hardest thing in personal finance is to stop the goalposts from moving, to not always want more, to understand that enough can be good enough. So let's review. So that you are prepared in case you are forced or decide to retire before you intended. Make sure to develop some interest, figure out your spending, how you're going to cover it, and keeping in mind what could go wrong. But also, consider your priorities and take a good hard look at what's important to you, at what's important in general. Don't be an ostrich and stick your head in the sand. You may be able to keep working, but always be working on your retirement plan so that if it doesn't come to fruition, you'll still have a bright future. Thank you for watching.